saying of the day, you'll never make your destination if you stop and throw rocks at every dog that barks. I like that. Churchill had said that. And, if you're focused on what you want to do, you don't have time to throw rocks at every dog that barks or every person that complains about something or has, some reason to tell you something won't work.
I remember you saying once, if you spent all your time getting even in politics, you'd never get anything done.
You wouldn't have time. Mm-hmm. It may just take forever. And you'd just be getting even with everyone, and there'd be somebody new the next day. And that's my old saying, bury the dead and move on. After you get through with an issue, it's gone. Just forget about it and move on to the next issue. Today, we're going to talk a little about, it's football season, the NIL, name, image, and likeness. And that's allowed the players in the NCAA to get paid. The quarterback at the University of Texas is getting, according to press reports, $7.1 million. And that's, he hadn't had his best year. And there's been a lot of pressure. I feel sorry for him, tremendous amount of pressure, because everybody was hyping about the Heisman and things like that, and that did not come about. But the NIL, they found some players that nobody knew about. And one of them was Diego Pavia from Albuquerque. He played at Volcano Vista High School. I didn't know there was a high school name for Volcano, And when he got out, not one division school, not one, offered him a scholarship or a walk-on. He didn't even get, mentioned for a walk-on. He had two Division II schools, Western Colorado and Western New Mexico. And he took a third option, and that was New Mexico Military Institute in Roswell. And that's kind of a famous school for producing Roger Staubach. He went there for 1 year and played before he went to the Naval Academy. Naval Academy knew he was good, and they wanted him, so they sent him to NMMI. And that's a really good academic school. It helps a lot of kids get prepared for college. But he went there, and his second year, they won the National Junior College Championship. And they beat Western Iowa. And the two coaches, the head coach, Jerry Kill, and the offensive coordinator, they called the Western Iowa coach and told him they were going to offer the day or two after the game a scholarship at New Mexico State to the quarterback. And so the coaches on the day of the game went to Hooters in El Paso and watched the game. About halfway through the game, they looked at each other and said, "We're recruiting the wrong quarterback." So the next day, they called the guy at Western Iowa and said, we're going a different direction. Mm-hmm. And then they called the kid, Diego, called him and offered him. And he came to New Mexico State and won some big games, got him in a bowl game, and entered the portal and started looking around. He was visiting Nevada, and the coach at Vanderbilt hired the head coach at New Mexico State, Jerry Kill, hired him as a consultant. And so he called the kid, and the kid said, "I'm going to commit to Nevada. I'm liking it." And he said, "I'm going to Vanderbilt, and I expect you to go with me." And he went, "Okay."
Worked out.
And it worked out. And last year they beat Alabama. First time they'd ever beaten someone that's rated in the top 5. And Vanderbilt was all hyped up about it and did a great job. The kid's got confidence, and he talked a little trash last week before the rematch with Alabama, and Alabama beat him this time. Mm-hmm. But he thinks his big problem was and they list him as 6 feet 207, but everybody says, and people on the internet said, you got to really stretch it to get to 5'10", and that he wasn't tall enough, and he wasn't good enough, and that it shows you all these experts at all these colleges, not one thought he could play, and he's playing big time. It goes back to Drew Brees, and no one in Texas or Oklahoma or Louisiana thought he could make it, and Purdue was at kind of a bottom, and they thought he could. And one of the coaches at Purdue wanted to change his method of throwing, and the coach was like, no. He's throwing fine. The ball hits him in the numbers, so, I mean, don't mess with it. Don't change him. And let him throw the way he's been throwing. And he turned out to be an All-American at Purdue, and then went on to play for the Saints, won a Super Bowl championship.
Voted to the Hall of Fame last week.
Voted into the Hall of Fame, and he's big time. And I know his dad and his stepmom are great people, and he's an outstanding individual. But no one thought that he could really play big-time football, much less no one, including Purdue, thought he'd be a pro player someday. But
it's almost like the coach has a box, a paper with the certain numbers on it. If you're so tall or weigh so much, if you don't check those boxes, we're not interested in you.
And they don't. I think one of the best players Texas Tech ever had was Wes Welker, who went to the Pro Bowl like 7 or 8 times and led the league in receptions and was a great player. And Tommy McVeigh, who was a great coach, he's since passed on, but Tommy McVeigh was an excellent coach at Texas Tech, and he convinced everyone to take Wes Welker, and that they thought he was too short, he's too slow, he's too this, too that. But, when he got football in his hands, he was a football player. He could get things done, and he was excellent. And so, Pro Football Hall of Fame also, he'll be there. Another player was John McTier, and John McTier was from Little Elm, Texas, up between Denton and Dallas in that area. And that no one thought that he could do it, and that he just didn't fit the mold. And he got some offers, though. He took one at Washington State, and he did excellent at Washington State. And OU needed a quarterback, and they came in and hired the offensive coordinator at Washington State. And surprise, surprise, they also got John McTier. And he started off the season great with them, and then he had to have surgery on his throwing hand. He injured his hand and had surgery, and probably won't be back this year. But he had a big jump going from Little Elm to Washington State and then to OU. At quarterback, you always have a possibility somebody's going to get hurt. And I know at Texas Tech this year, they had their first 2 team quarterbacks all lined up, but they signed someone that had started like 6 games at Wake Forest in case something went wrong. You got 2 guys hurt. And there were 3,400 players entered the portal this last year. 3,400. In the portal, you put your name out there, and all the other schools start recruiting you. And that, I noticed Texas Tech's got one guy that's been to 4 schools. I mean, that's like the old country western song, I've been everywhere. They could sing that tune. And that, it's easy to transfer. I think I wish they'd make it, you transfer maybe one time, that you'd have to stay with the school that you went to the first time or the second time. And it'd probably bring a little more stability. But this is not over. And in the NIL and the portal, they're going to be moving targets. And coaches will want to change it a little. But 3,400 that entered the portal, and they did primarily because of NIL. I had a SEC coach tell me that they used to recruit people, and they'd say, we got a business school that's good, or we got, you can get a degree here and you can be a coach, and we've got a great arena, and you'll love playing basketball in that arena and this and that. He said those arguments are not valid anymore. They want to know, how much am I going to get? Mm-hmm. They want to know the money. And so it's a big change. And a lot of people don't like it, but you got to adjust. And that some of the coaches that didn't like it and didn't participate have had a bad couple of years. Gundy at Oklahoma State, and they dropped him by the wayside after 4 games. I still don't understand that. After 4 games, the seniors then are going to say, well, I'm redshirting and getting the portal if they're any good. There was a defensive end, a rusher for Texas Tech named David Bailey that they got from Stanford. And I saw him play University of Houston Saturday night. And Bailey, he got some sacks, but he was so close, it made it hard for the quarterback to have any time to set up a rhythm to pass. And so he made a big change in it, and that probably helped him tremendously. But it's an ongoing process. Who knows what's going to happen? But the number of high school kids getting scholarships is going to go down, and has gone down substantially, because they're trying to sign kids that are already in college and that have proven what they could do. And if you go to a school and that's not a Power 5 or Power 4 school, if you go to a school and then you don't, pan out, then you've still got a scholarship and everything. But if you develop, say, at a lower level, Division I, or the American Conference or the Conference USA or something, if you develop a player, then the odds are, if he's really good as a freshman or sophomore, somebody's going to come get him. Mm-hmm. And so, it hurts in basketball. It really hurts someone that one of the greatest coaches I've ever known was Tubby Smith, that coached at Tulsa, Georgia, Kentucky, Minnesota, Texas Tech, Memphis, and High Point, 7 different places. Mm-hmm. But he'd get players and develop them. Well, that's not going to happen anymore, because if you develop them and they're any good, they'll go to a higher school. They'll get a little more money, and they'll be gone. And so it's changed, but it's going to be interesting to see what the coaches and the presidents of the different universities are going to push for in the future.
One of my favorite stories of yours is about a guy that was, I believe, maybe second team Southwest Conference or honorable mention, but then went on to be very successful in business. And every time he got introduced, his introductions got better and better.
They got better. That was John L. Cox. John
yeah.
L. Cox went to Rice and played football. He is from Junction. He played football at Rice and was all-conference. I think his second team all-conference. And he made one All-American, honorable mention All-American. And it was some group no one had ever heard of that, named him. But he'd get introduced, and they, they'd say his first team All-Southwest Conference, well, his second team. But they made it a little bigger, and then they say, honorable mention All-American. And a few years later, they say first team All-American, consensus All-American, things like that. And I was at a banquet with him one time, and he got introduced, and they talked about him being an All-American and everything. And he got an accepted award, and when he sat back down, he said, if I live long enough, I'm going to win the Heisman. They're probably a Heisman Trophy winner. Stories grew, and John L. Cox enjoyed it. He was a very good businessman, and gave heavily to Rice, and enjoyed Rice Owls.
And didn't transfer.
It did not transfer. He didn't go. He got his degree in chemical engineering and worked hard at it and was very successful. He made the billionaire list back when it first started in Midland. He and Jack Brown and Cy Wagner all made it. Jack Brown and Cy Wagner were partners, and they got in with Boone Pickens on buying some companies and Gulf Oil and some others. And Baker Botts was representing Boone, and they told Jack and Cy Wagner, we'll need a copy of your partnership agreement. And Cy held up his hand. And they said, you got a question? He said, no, we shook hands. They said, what do you mean you shook hands? We didn't need a partnership agreement. He said, we just shook hands. We have a door. Their offices were side by side, and they had a door out to the lobby, but they had a door in between, and they never closed it. And they were very good partners, and they did well. But I always thought it was funny. He held up his hand. They thought he had a question. He shook hands with him. A deal's a deal.
We got a message, a comment this week on a Facebook post. When you were going over the neighborhoods, or excuse me, the cities, the very per capita wealthy cities in America, someone put on there with all those lists, Midland's got to be at least number 2 of the wealthiest cities in America.
Midland was up there, but Midland, the one in New York City, right outside of New York City,
Westchester.
Is a little bitty area, and so they didn't have anybody, that was working in just a menial job in making any money.
There's a lot of wealth in Midland, Texas, though.
Oh, yeah. Supposedly there's over 10 billionaires in Midland. And that I think Midland, I saw one time a bumper sticker that after the bust in 86, things went so bad and oil went down to $6 a barrel and everything. And the bumper sticker said, a couple of them I saw. One said, give me one more boom, Lord, and I won't piss it off. And then there was another one said, I can hear her clearing her throat, because they were saying it's not over till the fat lady sings. They said, I can hear her clearing her throat. She's getting ready to sing, and it goes through a bad situation. Back in 86, it was tough. It was really tough. And there was the old joke that the guy said that things got so tough that the mafia in New Orleans laid off 3 judges. So if I were a judge in New Orleans, I wouldn't think that's very funny. We also had this week come out the 10 friendliest cities in the U.S. Number 1 was San Diego, and that 2 was Raleigh, North Carolina. 3 was Phoenix. People just holding their hand up in Phoenix keep from burning. 4 was Miami, Florida. 5 was Houston. Houston, friendly place. 6, Honolulu. 7, Boston. 8, San Jose. 9, Minneapolis, St. Paul. And 10, Denver. I'm not so sure that that's crazy. What they do, go around and see how many people, said hello to you or whatever. And stupid criminals, they had a guy that was clocked at 124 in a Camry. I didn't realize a Camry go that fast. And he was racing a motorcycle that they clocked at 140. And they caught the guy in the Camry. They didn't catch the guy. They're still looking for the guy in the motorcycle, 140 miles an hour. And his excuse was he had to go to the bathroom.
Oh, Lord.
And that they arrested him, reckless driving. And that there was also an article that when a woman's pregnant, if she has heartburn a lot, the baby will have more hair. And that may be just an old wives' tale. Also, with artificial intelligence, they can wire a house, and that what you talk about, they can fix it so that those are the ads you get on the internet on your iPhone or your iPad.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? That's kind of scary.
That is.
You know, that you'd start getting ads about whatever you'd been talking about.
Boy, it'd be funny if they'd have done that back when you were running around with Snake Adams and Red Dog and all those guys.
Red Dog Morris, One Arm Jimmy. You know, I mean, they'd had a lot of things to talk about. That I don't know they'd been advertising everything. They'd get the whole 9 yards. Through artificial intelligence, they did a study, the fastest getting through drive-through fast food places. In other words, by the time you drive up and you order, how long do you get your order? And the fastest was Taco Bell. It's 4 minutes and 16 seconds. And the average is 5 minutes and 35 seconds from the time you place your ad till you get out. The slowest was Chick-fil-A, and I wondered about that, but I looked into it, and they said that's the slowest, but they have more cars lined up, and they have to move them as fast as possible. And I think the Chick-fil-A was 7 minutes and 6 seconds. But Taco Bell was the winner on that. There is a study being done by universities on an alarm clock that wakes you up with a scent. You know, they can give a scent and it'll wake. Look, scent may not wake me up. I want to ring, you know, just a regular alarm clock. There was a guy who lived in the dorm with me at Bledsoe Hall named William Edward Washerleski III, just called me Buck. You know, first time I ever met him, he was from Bonham, Texas. And I said, I'm Kent Hance. He said, I'm William Edward Washerleski III, just call me Buck. Okay, Buck. And he had an alarm clock that had two little bells on top and had two ringers. And they'd go off. And the first time he did that, a bunch of people jumped out and they thought it was a fire alarm. They were trying to get out of the dorm before the fire burned them up. And it was just Washerleski's attempt to get him out of bed. But I don't know that a smell, maybe a smell of a burning building might wake you up. But you know, cologne or something like that.
You don't seem like an alarm clock guy to me.
I don't use alarm clock.
Yeah.
I always get up around 4:30 to 5. And I wake up and that's it. Don't need a alarm clock. Being funny at work. Being funny at work has potential downsides. One of them is you'll get fired if you're trying to joke and pull practical jokes on people. And so, you know, being funny at work, being nice at work is a lot more important than being funny at work. I think you concentrate on doing your job, and all the other stuff will come into play in a rightful manner. A saying of the day was, you'll never get to your destination if you stop and throw rocks at every dog that barks at you. Don't be messing with those dogs. Ignore them. Just keep on going. Have a good day.